So today we're going to discuss the actor. What is the actor? One way that I discuss acting is by doing. And if you ever have a chance to stop and say the Pledge of Allegiance, just with a lot of energy and emotion, genuinely saying and feeling the words, then you're on your first step to acting. Because oftentimes most of us have memorized the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's the first thing you have to do when acting is to memorize a a bit of text and then perform it. Well, even more so than just thinking, oh, it has to be genuine. You should think of what is the subtext, what is going on behind these words, what is the backstory of the character you're playing. Maybe they came from a foreign country and they didn't know anyone here in the United States. They didn't know the words to this pledge, but it's coming from their heart as they arrive from this foreign country where maybe there was a dictator, maybe people treated you and your family horribly, and you got to this place where you can actually align yourself with like-minded people and realize you want to pledge allegiance to their flag. And as you are thinking of that, these words come to mind. That is the idea of acting, is that you have all of that backstory and then the words come out, even though the words you've already memorized. The necessary skills and talents of the actor are in your book. They include interest in human nature or the human condition, keen observation skills, watching what's going on around you, things we learned in What is Art. A good memory. You have to memorize the text first. Concentration, imagination. So just like with kids, what we discussed in what is performance, fantasy and make-believe, all are part of imagination. Having courage and a strong and expressive voice and expressive face and body as well. Keeping healthy and being energetic with lots of physical stamina are important to the actor because they have to use all of those things. Have to be good collaborators and have lots of discipline to be able to get all of it done, and have humility. So when we discussed directing, we talked about this man. I don't know if you remember. His name is Konstantin Stanislavski, and he's a Russian man who started the Moscow Art Theater. He is credited for pretty much starting the Western idea of acting and directing as we know it today with his idea of the system. And initially it included emotional memory, effective emotional memory, which eventually became emotional recall, remembering a specific situation in your past emotionally, and it would lead to a truthful action on stage. Then later he came up with a method of physical actions. So performed action leads to truthful emotion. If you just continue to do a specific action, you could get to the emotion up behind the action. The system began to take root in the group theater in New York, and the founders included Harold Clurman, Cheryl Crawford, and Lee Strasberg. You might be familiar with Lee Strasberg. He's one of the great American teachers of Stanislavski's system, and he founded the Actor Studio, which you might have heard of if you do if you ever heard of Inside the Actor Studio, where they interview famous actors. That's in New York, and that's where he where the effective emotional memory kind of took place and became method acting. So you might have also heard of many actors referred to as method actors. Some include like James Dean, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Marilyn Monroe, Dustin Hoffman. The list goes on and on. Stella Adler was taught by Stanislavski and was a peer of Lee Strasberg, totally disagreed with effective memory, and learned more about, in later life, learned more about Stanislavski's physical actions, and so she preferred that method and taught a lot of famous people as well. So the actor's process includes, first we have to audition and get cast for the particular role, and then prepare, meaning learn the lines, learn any backstory, learn any history, anything else that needs to be researched and thought through. Then work in the rehearsal process with other actors and the director to get the lines and the blocking, everything down. And finally, the performance. Good actors are not necessarily good liars, but good liars often aren't good actors. So effective acting takes more than just lying. For instance, oftentimes you'll hear people say, "Oh, well, if you're a good actor, then you can just, you know, pretend like what I'm saying is funny, even if it's not." Well, that's lying. So effective acting is being able to get to the emotional truth behind a character. And that first starts with the creation of the character, using voice um, and understanding the language of the playwright. We'll discuss given circumstances and body and action and behavior. All of that takes place when creating the character to get to the believability and the emotional truth behind the given circumstances and what's happening. A lot of times you'll hear people say acting is not acting, it's reacting. So how things change moment to moment. It doesn't have to be the exact same way, especially in theater. Each night it might be a little different because it just, things happen differently. How would emotionally this character react to something differently? We don't always act the same way each time something happens. And then actors must have good stage presence. They must have charisma and confidence and have a lot of energy. Actors are good marks for good liars because they truly believe. Actors live truthfully in imagined or remembered circumstances. Liars live with full knowledge of their untruth. So oftentimes we hear about the actor's instruments or the actor's tool bag. What does the actor have to do to get to be a good actor? Well, if we think of it as an instrument, then it's easier to understand because we would know, like a pianist instrument would be their piano. A guitarist instrument would be his or her guitar. And a flautist instrument would be a flute. Well, when we start to think about artists who don't have instruments, we have to figure out more what it takes for them to do their art. For instance, a visual artist might have a canvas, paint, and a brush. Those are his tools. A dancer's tools would be her body, her legs. A spoken word artist's tools might be their mind. And a singer's tool or instrument might be his or her voice. Well, an actor has to use all of those as their tool. They have to have their body and their voice to be good actors, and as well as their mind and imagination. All the things that we discussed when we talked about the actor and the skills that they need. So that's why it's important for actors to work on all of those things. An actor's responsibilities include studying the text and memorizing their lines, bringing new ideas to the rehearsal process, and being creative and working with other actors and the director. And then actors have to constantly refine and adjust their character development. They have to continue to have that high energy that we talked about in terms of having good, healthy bodies. That's why they need it. It's because they have a lot of work to do. So that means that they have to be able to relax. They have to work, make sure that they have good alignment, they're physically conditioned, and just are prepared to use their body. So that's all part of having that energy. They have to maintain health, like I talked about, in terms of having high energy and flexibility for their body as well as their voice, and that includes oftentimes you'll see actors working with breath control and support and learning dialects, but they also have to work with modulation and tempo and rhythm and pitch, as well as projection, being loud enough so people can hear them. And actors have to sustain freshness in performance and execute repeated performances at a consistent level of quality. So the book talks about two different approaches to acting, and if you recognize this person from the book, it is Anna Devere Smith, and when you get an opportunity to watch the clips, please do to see how Anna Devere Smith approaches acting. According to the book, she does the opposite of most Western actors who approach acting internally using psychological analysis, everything we discussed in terms of what Stanislavski taught his students and has been passed down. Examples include script analysis and understanding the given circumstances, what is happening to get to this character to this point. Do they have an objective? What are they trying to do, and how are they trying to reach it? And what's stopping them from doing it? And making it bigger so it's more interesting for the audience. We'll talk about all of this in terms of internal approach, because it is the most popular approach for Western actors. Anna Devere Smith has an external approach to acting. It's a bit more technical. It has a clear external shape, so it includes expression and behavior. Examples are physical behavior, or the environment. So the environment stimulates the senses, causing responses. So external approach might be, if it's hot, then the actor would take their jacket off, because that's externally causing the actor to do that. The approach that Anna Devere Smith used with her one-woman show is to interview all of these different people who are involved in something going on in society. For instance, the video that you will watch with her play Fires in the Mirror was about the civic disturbance in a racially divided neighborhood of Crown Heights in Brooklyn, New York, which happened in August of 1991. She interviewed different people on different sides of this issue and used those interviews to make the characters. So basically she acted exactly how the people acted when they were being interviewed. So the internal approach, which, like I said, often has to do with Western approach to acting, psychological approach, usually starts with given circumstances, the who, what, when, where, and why, everything you learned in your language arts class. And what I was always taught is it's the acronym GOTE, G-O-T-E, basically that's the goal, so the objective, and we see this picture of a person who's trying to get to their goal. What does the character want from life or from another character? So goals change from moment to moment, and then what is the huge uh, underlying goal of the script? The interesting thing about, if you are to use the internal approach and understand goals and all of the things that encompass GOAT, you will realize that it relates to people in general. So if we can understand what our personal goals are, then we can get to a better understanding of what, in terms of acting, getting to an actor and getting to character goals. So this is an example of a person trying to get to their goal, and all of these people are in the way. Those are the other people. Those are obstacles. What stands in your way to stop you from getting to your goal? So your dream is here, and you have friends and pessimists in society, fear, guilt, and relatives who are trying to stop you. Well, it's just like that in almost any story that you read. There's something trying to stop the person from getting to their goal. For instance, in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's goal was to get home, and the Wicked Witch and all of the things that she did tried to stop her from getting to her goal. Tactics are tools that you can use to get what you want. Oftentimes, when actors try to figure out what tactics they need to use, they use action verbs. For instance, if you go to the grocery store and you see a child wanting to get some candy, think of all the different ways a child tries to get candy from the parent. They might yell, they might kick, they might scream, they might bully, they might beg, they might plead, they might try to come up with some sort of reasoning, barter, all types of ways to get that piece of candy. Use the puppy dog eyes, or I'll clean my room for a week. All of those are tactics, ways to get what we want, and we use them in our everyday life to get what we want from all kinds of people, and the character uses it in a script to get what they want. So that is not something that would necessarily be written in the script. It's up to the actor to figure out how they need to get what they want. If the script says, please give me a glass of water, and it's up to the actor to figure out, are they going to say it in a pleading way? Are they going to say it in a demanding way? What would go best with this character to use in terms of their tactic in this situation to get what they want? And then finally, the expectation of the character. Oftentimes in theater, you will hear people refer to raising the stakes. Did your plan succeed? Did your character get what they want? What do you, the character, stand to lose if you don't get what you want? We have to think in terms of life and death circumstances. That's raising the stakes so that it's more interesting for the audience. Not just that it's I want to make someone happy. It's they have to smile, or else I'll die. I mean, that's dramatic, of course, but it has to be upping the ante, raising the stake, making it interesting for the audience. If we just say I want them to smile because it'll look good, well, you don't have a good goal or a good expectation for them to smile. If they don't smile and it doesn't look good, guess what? Life goes on. But if they don't smile and it affects you some sort of way, then how would it affect you, and how will it hurt you or help you in a life or death situation? And that's how, even if it isn't life or death, that's how we make it interesting for the audience to watch. So we talked about Anna Devere Smith and the external approach, and this is a picture of Ray Charles and Jamie Foxx playing Ray Charles. So I can't say for sure if Jamie Foxx use external approach, but he might have had to used how Ray Charles moves to get to the part of moving like Ray Charles, and how he looks, how he acts to get to Jamie Foxx's becoming Ray Charles, and even so much to where it's hard to tell the difference. This one's Jamie Foxx, this one's Ray Charles. External approaches include physical behavior and expression, environmental awareness, sensory awareness, and imagination. And that is the end of our slideshow on acting. I look forward to next week, and I hope you do too. Thanks. Bye.